Hello and welcome back, everyone. We did have some technical issues with the game, so we'll be going back and getting it all set up for y'all. But don't we not worry. You guys will be going back right to where we left off, obviously. So Black Boxer and I will just continue to cast as normal, going on to what the map is and looking at this right now. Ban Luna 4 trying to get this Krug will be able to do so. Nicely done. Is at 6 here compared to Fruity, who's only at a 5. And Black Boxer, what are we thinking? No dive.
No dive right now. That would be pretty risky to go for a dive at this point in the game. Ketso kind of stepping up in an odd situation here. Buddy, I don't think you want to be here.
Fruity just can't help him out. He's in a 1v4 and he's trying to get a kill across, but will not be able to do so. Lendo has that get excited, but looking to maybe just leave the rest of the team alone there as Fruity gets yet another camp stolen from him. And the pain is really piling on here for Desire Jungle. So hold on. Kenny looking to engage onto Giantech. Rakan gets stopped, able to use that dash to get to the ally. Dark Shadow looking to chase this down. Glacial with Arrow will be able to slow him up a little bit more. Kenny just continue to get slow. Nice flash for Kenny not to get stunned up there, but now the focus on the Lendo. Oh. He does get cocked, dodges the Ascendant Blade, and Dark Shadow does it.
Oh, good flash right there as well to be able to get away from that last Zenith Blade. Didn't even get stunned up underneath the tower. Really well executed on that one. Exactly what you want to be seeing from this bottom lane. Now, Kenji, if he steps up a little bit too far, Lungfo is sat in the bush, but the rest of Paragon is in the area as well, looking for these scrubs.
Lungfo sees the Adonis get popped, decides to just go ahead and let him waste that cooldown as the rest of Paragon will be starting up these grubs here, looking to get that first round. Now JB's walking up, so is Luby and Luca 4. So there is a possibility for a fight here, but Genotech makes this a potential 4v3. Nice escape there by JB to not get caught by Gutsuo. And it looks like both these teams will... Oh, wait, we see Kenny. Then if they connect, then he's going to walk on out of there. So yeah, Grub going on over to Paragon as they seemingly stabilize this game with it.
Yeah, they managed to pick themselves up 3 of the grubs right here. This is going to really help on these side lanes. If you can ever get a Set or a Renekton onto a tower, they can do quite a lot of damage to those ones, especially depending on what the build paths are going to be, if they go for slightly more aggressive builds especially. So far, so good out of Paragon, looking a lot better. You know, they are still down by a little bit of gold. That's the CS gaps that we're still seeing. You know, decent chunks still in the jungle at the moment, but they're finding ways to fight back, especially the fact that they've now got Dark Shadow into a much better spot.
No, Dark Shadow looking to try and deny XP, but will it be his doom? The root does indeed connect, but a wonderful arrow followed by the grand entrance knockup means that Dark Shadow will be able to survive. Genotech saving his ADC, doing what a support does best.
Yeah, not really having the Super Mega Death Rocket available at that point did Elendil, but you can see the amount of damage that JB can do. As Luna pointed out, right, you can go very aggressive with these builds on the Karma, and they could just shred through people at the moment, hitting like a truck, and that's not really going to change as we get onto the later stages of the game. Still, you don't end up losing out a kill onto Dark Shadow. He's able to keep himself alive at the moment, in a pretty good spot overall as the Ashe at this point in the game.
Recalling in that bush. Fun fact, I will give him a tick up on his challenges. You know, you got to recall near some enemies, and you get a little bonus point there. This guy indeed get you a title. For anyone who didn't know, as JP who's in the mid lane, just doing some damage to Quetzal. And all in all, I gotta say, run a nice grab there by Quetzal means a lot of damage coming through. But JB just this feels like JB's just kind of been throwing Quetzal around in this lane for most of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Quetzal having a pretty miserable time, but you always were going to. I don't think the set was picked for the lane dominance that you get into something like a Karma. It was picked to stop it from being quite such a miserable matchup if you did end up with the Mundo in the top lane, or in this situation, you just absorb as much pressure as possible. And again, the desk pointed it out. There's a couple of big, heavy targets that you can chuck into the back line. Look to get aggressive here. Oh,
Super Mega Death Rocket just narrowly getting the hit onto Quetzal, and Quetzal as well, just nearly going down to JB, narrowly getting away there as well. So Quetzal, a man living on the edge right there. All calm returns there to them, and he's gonna have to recall and get back here, use that TP, and all in all, JB probably will be okay with that trade as the Drake is spawning up soon. Nice root followed by the knockup. Elendo flashing over the wall though. Cyber ult does not catch, and now Fruity is the target. Now they're onto Dark Shadow. Lendo trying to walk up but cannot do so. TP coming down. JB now being targeted by Genotech. Here comes Kenji trying to get a kill across. JB with a wonderful root though to just kite him out. Just trying to get damage on Luca for. So trying to provide the backline now. Ketsul here as well. The nice ulti will secure the kill onto that Mundo. The Leona goes down, and with that Paragon win a team fight and likely get this Drake.
Yeah, it's such a good fight right there out of Paragon, exactly what they needed, and it's the map rotation, something we were really critical of them in that previous game. They weren't able to get themselves across the map into these fights, bring more members over. This time around looking much better, and it's all kicked off with this really nice route into knock-up combo. Genotech, sure, takes quite a lot of damage on the backside of this fight, but it really doesn't matter. Yes, you immediately lose Fruity Carrots, but Dark Shadow, he's been really clean so far. The kiting especially has been great on him. And you can see the point at which the rest of the squad for Paragon arrive here, it just gets better and better in this team fight. Once Dark Shadow feels comfortable to be able to step himself back up again and start dealing damage, yeah, this is such a nice fight from them.
No, absolutely. It definitely seems like Bandits overplayed their hand there. The priorities were way too split. Lunka 4 went down to go over the Dark Shadow, but as you said, the kiting made that they just didn't have the damage. Elendo was already too low from the prior engage, so they just kind of extended the fight unnecessarily, and they had no damage. So by the time Kenji and Ketsu will get down, they were able to just demolish the rest of them and run through them.
Absolutely. So, let's see if Paragon are going to be able to keep this one up, because of course the time is ticking. Bandits have got themselves a very strong late game composition, and first items are just about beginning to come through at this point. It is going to be a Dead Man's Plate onto Loopy. That's pretty interesting. Going to give him that extra amount of rundown once we get into these big team fights. But across the rest of the board, right, now that you've got yourself that Malignant onto JB, he's going to be hitting so hard, dealing so much damage, has even more resets onto that ulti as well. And I mean, this is the sort of build that you can just be so aggressive with on the Karma. Not to mention the fact that those Karma shields will also be massive for keeping people alive later on.
Oh, absolutely. Nice dodge there from Elendo to sidestep it. Its grand entrance will be used up there, but it's only a minor issuance there, as Dark Shadow, able to use the flash to get away, still has access to that cleanse, and it will be indeed be able to escape. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, JB gets caught by Ketsul and Fruity Carrot. They are able to take him down, and despite a victorious set of events here on the bot side of the map, they lose in the mid lane.
And they get a good amount of damage down onto the bot lane. They get the flash, the heal, the flash away from the bot side, but they don't pick up the kill. That's going to be the critical thing, and this is the other side of it, right? We've been talking so much about how Paragon have been so close to being a good team throughout this split, and in game one, so close to picking up a bunch of those kills, unable to. But this is the flip side of it, right? This is what happens when they do manage to pick up those close victories, when they get away from those deaths in these close situations. So far, looking so good from Paragon.
Absolutely, this is feeling like a different team compared to the last match. Bandits here, and it's not even on them in terms of like they've been playing worse. It just seems like Paragon have been way more proactive. It's obviously because of the champions, right? They feel more comfortable taking in a lot of these engagements, and in general, just the team play has been better. Like that rotate we saw for the team fight earlier on. So Paragon, definitely, whatever they did in between these games, it's working. All right, and they got to keep at it.
Absolutely, they need to keep this one up as much as possible. They are doing so by picking themselves up the Herald right here. This is way more objectives than they were able to pick up for themselves in game one. In game one, they grabbed a couple towers onto Kenji, and that was it. This time around, they have got the clean sweep of them so far. Bandits been unable to pick themselves up any of these big objectives outside of the towers. Now looking to push onto the top lane, but PRG are here.
R&D here, nice grand entrance of the 2, followed by the root. That's a lot of CC, and a knock-up as well will land into the Cho'Gath, but that is one tanky Toy Dragon there. Toy Monster as Lunka 4 will spell immune that Crystal Arrow, not intentional whatsoever. But even if it hit, I don't know if it would have resulted in anything, as that is what is a very tanky top laner. Now, with a lot of cooldowns being used, Lunka 4 and Kenny are going to use this opportunity to head on into the jungle. Smite there claims it for Fruity, I believe, was able actually to secure that. So nicely done by him to make sure not to lose out on that Grump. But all in all, Lunka 4 just being in their face. Moonrum does indeed go where he pleases.
Very much so, but, you know, he was into a no item free carrots. If you have got yourself the Leandries that you now do, that's a much different fight, right? At this point, it's very much just Dark Shadow that can get through these tankier champions. Has to cleanse right there to get himself away. Now, potentially can try to chase down Lunka. The slows are so strong.
Mundo does indeed go where he pleases, but it doesn't mean that everyone else will not try and make him take him down. Paragon narrowly do so there on Lunka, but the ultimate at the end will make sure he stays healthy, and that was a little scary, but boy, that element just is so strong.
And now you're going to see the Herald pop down into the mid lane. Paragon, they're looking to extend themselves, get themselves into a gold lead at this point. Tier 1 goes down straight away. Ketso, is he going to charge in for that second one? Yes, he is. Needs to be careful about getting a Zenith Blade on the way back through. Really nice use of the root right there out of Fruity Carrots. Throws those Stranglethorn through, stops any potential engage from Kenny as he has to dodge away from those. And they get the good chunk of damage onto this Tier 2 tower. Now, with all of this pressure you've got in the mid lane, you can turn around and go get the Drake afterwards if you want to as well.
Ketsuo trying to back on up away from here, heading on over towards the Drake as you see Bandits slowly and quickly in pursuit. Lunka 4 stepping over towards his bush as he got an engage onto the Leona, but that's a very tanky character to choose as they try and continue it over. Grand Entrance being used, but once again, these are not high value targets. A lot of cooldowns being blown from that Rakan in exchange for nothing. Now, the Drake still hasn't been started, and Lendo and the top laner will be pushing in this midway. Bandits here definitely have an angle to maybe win out a team fight here.
And you can see all of the vision coming on through. Paragon know what's happening at this point, but the health bars are pretty high at the moment for the Bandits. And like you said, a lot of tanky members. Ketso now potentially just going to get caught right here. Gets taken down in one.
Doesn't even get the opportunity to use his ability. A flash forward from Kenny with the Solar Flare means that Fruity Carrots will indeed have to use his own flash. And this Drake, just quickly like that, gets taken over by Bandits. They're able to get that first pick, and I gotta say, I think it all just kind of stemmed from that. What I gotta say, I gotta call it how it is, that poor engage.
Yeah.
They blew a lot of resources onto a target they just couldn't commit to.
Yeah, if you're trying to get all of your damage down onto Loopy and Lunkafoa, not going to be ideal. You need to be killing JB or Elendil as quickly as possible in this game. Yes, the Cho'Gath and the Mundo do a lot of damage, but if you're blowing everything into them, they're going to survive for so long. You can see it's Heartsteel Mundo, it's Deadman's Plate onto the Cho'Gath. These champions are in such a good spot at the moment, and there wasn't really an opportunity for Dark Shadow, the person with the majority of damage on his team at the moment, to just sit and hit and do what he needed to do. Paragon, man, they're going to have to find themselves better engagers if they want to play around this. With something like the Ashe available to you, you can go for picks rather than just straight up 5v5 team fights. I think that's where Bandits are going to be looking strongest.
I agree. Paragon do definitely have the comp to just kind of catch someone out and make sure they can't move again.
Okay, so
the question is, will they be able to successfully do that as Ketsuo trying to get away from this Cho'Gath? That is a very scary looking
toy
dragon dinosaur, you know, don't be fooled, all right? That dinosaur will bite you, so
yeah,
away as
we saw it in the previous one, right? Ketso never even managed to use his W's. Haymaker never happened because he was just getting absolutely destroyed.
Now pushing in this mid wave. Meanwhile, on the top side, no one is contesting Kenji. And he's just going to keep on pushing his waves. He's already gotten that turret, and that has kind of shifted the gold quite a bit here for Paragon. Still behind, but that lead is quickly dwindling, and still no recalls coming through. Finally, we see Elendil doing so, but I don't know. This is a little bit bizarre coming out of Bandits. They seem a little bit lost.
Yeah, the Bandits, they are just kind of getting chased around the map, and that means they are going to lose themselves out onto this mid lane tier 2 tower, most likely. It might not quite go over.
Okay, they're alright, but they get Otacon in exchange. All right, so then you gotta start wondering, what does this cost? What was the cost benefit here, right? They lose 2 towers, they get the Otacon though, they get some XP off of it, and now they're gonna use those bonuses to start pushing in this mid wave. Hopefully get stopped by Dark Shadow.
Oh, TP.
TP. As the Glacial Arrow, that's what we were talking about. Nice cleanse by Elendil, though. The gate both the Grand Entrance and the Glacial Arrow, but we'll be caught up anyways. Kenji is here, of course. Lunka 4 with the assistance of Kenny will trade it back. ADC for ADC, but the TPs from the rest of the team from Bandits are a little bit too late, as Luffy just gonna have to walk away. It is a 1 for 2.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight once again for Paragon. They lose out a little bit onto the top side, but that's really not going to be the end of the world for them. And this is exactly what we were saying, right? This has to be a pick-based composition, and they're able to find it onto a Lendl, and it's going to be much easier to find that pick once again because the Cleanse and the Flash were both used in that engage, and the Lendl still ended up dying. With both him and Kenny going down, that opens up the map a little bit for the next 30 seconds or so for Paragon. It's not really any objectives to play around for a little bit. We've got a minute 50 until the next Drake is going to be spawning, and, you know, just a little while as well until the Baron's going to be up and available.
Now that does give both these teams time to build up these items, and I gotta say, I don't know who to say this benefits more right now. The gold lead for the first time in this series will be shifting on over to Paragon's side, 37.5 to 37.2.
Let's go.
But let's go Paragon, go Paragon fans out there loving the chat. But I don't know here, Black Walker, what do you think over the course of these next couple of minutes? What's gonna be the focus for these teams?
It's going to be team fights once again. These objectives are the big place in which we've been seeing the absolute best of looks from Bandits. When you can get your Cho'Gath and your Mundo into the front line, be right in front of everybody, perfect, wonderful. It's in those situations it's great. It's when these fights are a little bit more split, when the picks are coming through, that Paragon are in the best spots. So Paragon, they need to keep being funky with the map, keep finding these weird angles to find these engages, death brushes, that kind of thing. Otherwise, Paragon need to be careful because the Bandits composition is both better in the straight up 5v5 team fights and getting stronger and stronger the later into this game we go.
Absolutely. It's looking a little precarious here for Paragon. Definitely as the game progresses, they're going to have to really be coordinated in the way they execute these fights. Going to prior events, the fight in mid, right? Or near the near mid lane, near the river, right? Where they had the engage, they had the cohesion. The target with selection was just the poor thing, right? So they definitely have the pieces. I think that in general, they just need to pick better and try and find these angles. I think the TP from Kenji in that most prior fight was really good. Good use of those deep wards, and you got to thank Genotech for that. But all in all, just so far, looks like both of these teams definitely feel like there's a lot of line. I can feel the pressure in this game from both players.
Absolutely, this is do or die, right? You have not managed to get yourself into that upper bracket. You don't get a match to lose. No. You've got to win this one, otherwise your season is over. It would be a massive disappointment for both of these teams. We were talking about it in the pregame, right? For Bandits, getting second place, only losing to a team who was completely undefeated across the entire split, and then getting knocked out in the lower bracket round 1 of the playoffs, that would be a massive loss considering it's the exact same roster. For Paragon, they had a bit of a change up with the roster, wild movements throughout the off-season, and came into this split still looking like one of the stronger squads. Again, they would really want to be able to win this matchup. I think it's less of a disappointment for Paragon if they get knocked out here, but still, would definitely be not up to the levels that you're looking for as a Paragon fan.
Definitely not. Or I gotta say that someone within this game who has really, like, I feel like stepped, or two, I gotta say a pairing here for Paragon is Dark Shadow and Genotech.
Yes.
In this game have definitely seemed like they stepped it up. Now, I don't know if it was just because it was Senna in the last game, it was Senna Nautilus, maybe just didn't allow Dark Shadow to really kind of let his strength show, especially because of how the game played out, right? But in this game, Dark Shadow has really picked up the pieces, really come back with seemingly a new mental fortitude, and together they've been doing a good job to make sure that this bot lane does not get out of hand, because that Jinx, you know, if this bot lane went any poorer, that Jinx with the Karma could have made for a very deadly combo. Team fights already are bad. Team fights with a fed Jinx, way worse.
Yeah, it's over at that point, right? If they'd have had as bad an early game with this composition as they had in the previous game, it would have been a very similar result, a complete domination that we saw from the Bandits in game 1. Whereas this time around, Paragon, they've been able to keep things a lot chiller. They've still been proactive, you know, they've still been looking for these fights. I've been also very impressed with Fruity Carrots in this one, because he got kind of pushed around during the early jungling phase, but that wasn't the end of the world, right? He was still able to just keep himself in a good spot, and now has been effective playing alongside Dark Shadow and Kenji in finding these fights. Everybody from Paragon really stepping up in this one.
Definitely. And it looks like there have been some issues on the back end, so we are gonna go and send it to a break before we, get everything sorted out. I want to give you guys a good product, so we will be right back. Please do not go anywhere before you miss out on Paragon and Bandit Game 2. Hello and welcome back to the lower bracket round one. Of course, we have the Bandits versus Paragon. Up 1-0 is the Bandits, and we are up in the second game. And this game, now, despite Bandits being up 1-0, is fairly close here, as instantly we start off with an engage. Kenny and Luffy getting caught out, but that's a lot of CC on tanks again! They find Fruity instantly, catching those though with a big engage on the backside, but where's the follow-up? Dark Shadow is stuck hiding away from Luca. Now Kenji's in the fight though, on to Kenny, but the wonderful 3-man knockup from Luffy buys so much time. Kenny gets to walk away. He gets so low. Kenji just stands still. Kenny gives him the thumbs up, and it's an ace.
Oh,
say something, Black Box.
Yikes! Oh, I mean, we jumped right back out of the break, and it was looking so good for Paragon. We just praised them.
I was praising them.
I don't think it counts as a caster curse, right? We weren't midway through the game. Oh, that feels rough. That's so rough for Paragon, but that's the thing, right? We said it. The straight-up 5v5 teamfights are bad for them, and they take a 5v5 teamfight. Yes, you get the kill onto a Lendl, but Lendl's not the only person dealing damage in this fight, and because it's not a pick, because it's just a kill in and amongst the fight, Luffy, Lunkafor, JB, they're all dealing mad amounts of damage during that fight as well. And now, the Drake wasn't even taken, so as Paragon, you're forced to go and attempt to re-engage this fight, potentially. One that I don't know you're going to win any harder this time around than you did previously.
No, I mean, Bandits are just right on top of it. The Owl Will spot out some vision here, but that Drake will be going on over. Further delaying that soul point for Paragon, and instantly they're running straight up here towards the Baron, maybe looking to just set up vision, get ready and prep, because they're, I don't know if they recall yet. They're sitting on quite a bit of gold here, so likely not gonna start it. I would advise against it here, but I don't know. What do you think, Black Blocker?
Hey, the start 5-5s have been looking pretty good. Potentially just using it as a way to bait the members of Paragon in to then turn around and go for the fight could be a good strategy. They are going to need to do a slightly better job of keeping Elendo alive as we go on later into this game. He's going to be a big part of their damage overall. Right now, we're going to watch a good bit of damage coming through from Ketsuo onto JB, but he does a ton back as well and has some big shields available to him. Look at the healing!
Yeah, the RW makes for a huge chunk of healing, especially with all the AP you have built up here. The Horizon Focus, 110 AP if I remember correctly, just raw on that item. So just a wonderful item for its gold value. But Ketchel looking to get the kill, will not be able to dodge the stun. The root does connect. The R being used as well while looking for the Haymaker. JB just kiting him out. The RW, it's just too much. Luca 4 is here as well. No, but stays alive. So with the help, everyone should keep on healing, but it's just not enough. Genotech is out of ways to help out his mid laner, now likely gonna fall as well as Kenji TP's on down. Meanwhile, look at the map, they're doing Baron. Kenji had to TP down here. JP just gonna kite him on out, wasting all their time. Kenji cannot end it. Get
the healing!
The RW! The healing! It's just Luca and JP. The Death Rocket misses. Finally, the kill comes across, but what does it cost?
Yeah, do they get the Baron on the back end? Because I think Dark Shadow and Fruity have done well enough to stop the Baron from going over. It's a complete mess. It's multiple minutes of fighting. Lugfur flashes forwards and misses the briefcase. Kenji should be able to just dash over the back of that pit. A little bit embarrassing to end this one up. But the main takeaway is, holy moly, the healing that JB has available to him is crazy, and he's about to get a death cap. That's 2 needlessly large rods in his inventory right now. This man is on fire at the moment, and as much as it was an iffy early game out of the Bandits, they are well and truly back.
Yeah, the last series of events were ridiculous. JB doing such a good job to just keep himself alive. I really just got to give him props there. Kenji ran him around like a cat chasing a mouse, and they were not able to get the Baron, but it was a very good idea. I'd like to play, forcing the members down to then try and sneak away the Baron. Now here in the mid river, Kenji looking to get another engage. Luffy quite far forward here, but the rest of the team is on the way, able to flash over the wall. Elendo is just free hitting. Dark Shadow's in the front and goes down instantly. Elendo just gets to shoot them all for free. He's getting so excited. They are able to re-engage, but it's too late. Too little, too late. Triple kill for Lunka 4. Ban JB is gonna steal away the Penta, unfortunately, I think. Unless Kenji, no, the shields are too strong. Elendo lives. Double kill for JB, and that is yet another ace for the Bandits.
And they're going to turn around and attempt to take the Baron right now. It's going to be a little bit slow between JB and Lunkafoa, but they should have Loopy come and join them in a second too. We kept setting up, right, the 5v5 team fights are bad, you need to find the picks, but they just keep going for them, and you can't get through these front lines. Loopy and Lunkafoa, yeah, Loopy takes a lot of damage, but hey, health bar is a resource, and he lives, takes that initial bit of engage away from Paragon, and then the re-engage is beautiful. Elendil free hitting throughout that one as well, and that's going to be Baron right here for the Bandits. They are looking to sweep their way through this game number 1, 2-0.
And it's just been team fight after team fight after team fight, and you've been saying, Black Blocker, that it's just not what they want to do. This is not what their priority is. It's not what the team comp calls for them to do, and it hurts even more when Dark Shadow is front lighting because he can't get to Elendil. He's so far away, he can't close the gap. So just a bad series of events there for Paragon. Baron, of course, getting taken over, and this Drake soul point here for Bandits pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams now have got themselves onto those 2 Drakes, but it just doesn't feel like Paragon can step up to these team fights. They did what they needed to in the early game, but they've just taken a couple of fights where Bandits are just better. They're in a stronger spot. Fruity Carrot's going to continue having the bit of a miserable experience, not getting himself any of these camps. So much of his camps have been stolen away. You can see I mean, it's nearly a flame horizon in terms of the CS between Lungafo and Fruity Carrots right now.
Nearly a flame horizon. I mean, it's been rough since the start here for Fruity Carrots. Just a consistent invade after interruption from Lungafo on this Mundo has been just excellent to put this Zyra in the ground, right? Really minimize the impact they can have on the game. Look at that, 13k gold compared to only the 9k on this Zyra.
Yeah, it's huge.
The gap is abysmal.
It is. It's really big, and it all started right from the very beginning of the game. The interesting pathing and late invade coming through from the Bandits to make Fruity Carrots uncomfortable. This was a better game from Paragon. This was a lot more of their engages hitting early on. The composition just didn't demand the straight-up team fights. Bandits, they've played this one out exactly as they needed to, and now their composition is rolling. Loopy, Lungafo, and Kenny are so tanky at this point in the game. As long as you can keep JB and Elendil alive throughout the early to mid stage of these team fights, you're going to be fine.
Ooh!
Oh, good engage.
Or onto Kenny will open them up here at the double haymaker. The shields are strong, but not that strong. As meanwhile, Loop and Lungafo are just going to chase on the backline. They accepted that their team is dead. Now they're trying to get one back. Fruity, it's going to be a 2v3 here. I don't know if they have the damage. That's a set, and the Renekton going to be able to heal up on a lot of damage. Loopy going to be finally going down there. 864 gold into the pockets of Kenji, and they find the angle.
There you go, Genio Tech. That was a brilliant engage into the backline. Finds a nice two-man knock-up to start that fight off. And that was the fight that Paragon really needed to keep themselves into this game. As we said, as long as you can keep Elendil and JB safe, well, in that fight, they certainly couldn't. And it was also a flash haymaker fully stacked up from Ketsuo that just dealt a metric ton of damage as well. Oh, they're going to need multiple of these fights, Paragon, if they want to get themselves to a win in this game. But it's a good start.
Oh, absolutely. Paragon, I want to say, I got to give a lot of props for that prior fight to Ketsuo as well. Obviously, Genotech was a great engage, but Ketsuo using the showstopper to get the Leona away from the backline was perfect.
Yeah,
I don't even know if he even intended to get it over the terrain. I don't know if he did that on purpose, but regardless, it just created so much space for his rest of the team to play.
And that's what you need. You can't play onto Elendil and JB if Loopy, Lungafo, and Kenny are around him. But as soon as they're not, as soon as you've got a little bit of space, that's where you can really start to find those angles. And it was Loopy and Lungafo kind of just never turning around and going towards the rest of the fight. They were just kind of keeping the backline away, but you didn't really need the remaining members. It was a very good fight right there from Paragon. Bandits. They're going to have to be careful to not give a couple more of those away. We've got 1 minute 50 seconds until the Baron is spawning, 2 minutes 20 until the next Drake is up, because we did have that third Drake go over to the Bandits. Soul point for them, and getting themselves a 4 Hextech Drake, Hextech Soul would be massive. That's so much extra damage and slow coming through once you get into these fights.
Yeah, the amount of damage coming through here is just so much single target damage, really. And we saw in this prior fight what this composition can do if they can create the opportunity. The problem is obviously creating that opportunity. I don't know. That was the first time Ketsuo was able to get that showstopper onto Kennedy. I don't know if he can do it again. Right? There was a lot of really important things that had to happen for that fight to play out the way it did. But they did it once. You know, who's to say they can't do it again?
Yeah, it's certainly not out of the realms of possibility that PRG can keep themselves into this game, that they can get themselves a victory right here, but it is asking a lot of them. The composition from the Bandits is very much online at this point. You can see 4 items now completed onto JB and Elendil, as well as the 4 tanky items available to both Loopy and Lungafo. This front line is massive. Also, a really interesting build out of Lungafo. He's dealing plenty of damage as well. You know, he's tanky and he's got some extra damage to be able to do too. Blog Song and the Titanic. I really like this build just because, hey,
look how big he
why
is.
not? Look at the amount of health that man has as well, considering that he's also gone for some extra damage. You know, he doesn't even have an extra Warmogs. Might be the next item for him, though.
Could be on the way, right? Would make a lot of sense considering, you know, the whole schematic idea of how this Mundo works. He wants that health, wants to regen it quite a lot, and now looks like Bandits wants to start a fight. Great knockup by Loopy, and it's just over. Lendo on the side is gonna knock him down, and in an instant, the game is just done. Ketsuo with one last shot, showstopper for the road, as this show has been stopped by the Bandits as they run down this mid lane. They don't need this minions. Mundo's just gonna take it all up as they go and run through the rest of the base. Paragon have put up an admirable fight here in the second game, but Bandits are gonna be able to close it out 2-0.
Bandits gonna progress on to the next stage of the playoffs. Paragon, their journey in the Four Nations, this split ends right here. It's a real shame for Paragon. They looked a lot better in the start of this second game, but like you said, they were just too strong. The Bandits, this is a return form for a team that really had struggled at finding these big moments throughout the very start of this regular season. Some good drafts out of them as well. Congratulations to the Bandits for this 2-0. For Paragon, oh, it hurts. It really sucks for them.
Yeah. That second game especially, you know, it definitely seemed like there were a lot of points early on, even going into the mid game, where it was like they were in control of the game. They had the game plan. They knew how, I think they had an idea of how they wanted to play stuff out. They were rotating around and working cohesively. But seemingly once they hit that mid to late, where they were working around the macro of like managing the waves, getting things pushed in, things just kind of fell apart. And one team fight, they lost their gold lead and it was over from that point.
Exactly. They had been in control of that game from the very start, but never had really been able to expand that gold lead enough to take it to a spot where they could afford even the slightest of missteps, and then they go for a fight at the point at which finally the composition from the Bandits was really beginning to spark to life, and like I said, immediately lose it right there. For Paragon, it's been a rough split for them. They made it into the playoffs, which was going to be at least the minimum expectations. Really does suck that they're going to be knocked out right here. For the Bandits, though, going on forwards, the desk will break it down more. But, you know, this team, hey, if they are in this form, moving on forwards up against some of these other lower bracket teams, they could be a real dark horse contender for going on forwards.
I think, if anything, definitely makes for very interesting games, but we're going to go ahead and leave it to the desk to discuss everything else. Thank y'all so much here from the casters. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Okay, and thank you very much. I feel like the game, it wasn't super clean, right? We had a lot of technical pauses and stuff, which definitely didn't help out. But I feel like all in all, it was just a really good performance coming out from Bandits. And I feel like it's actually their best performance I've seen them in potentially ever. Like, they looked actually quite clean. They kept their cool. Their team felt well. When they got ahead, they didn't get over aggressive. Luna, I feel like this could be a good step in the right direction for Bandits.
100%. I mean, the big issue that we brought at the top of the show was this team is too aggressive. And this game, they fell behind in the early game. You know, they struggled a little bit. Despite picking up a couple of kills here and there, they were pushed off of every objective. They didn't have the pressure. Their bridge was somewhere they weren't used to. This team is a team that is very used to having Lunka be their bridge, and they shifted it onto JB. JB was the champion that was going to get them through the early game and then have the rest of the team come online. And I was very impressed because they played a very reserved, very collected, very calculated game. This is more standard League of Legends than I've ever seen Bandits play, and it suited them well. They pulled it off really, really well. Whether that is because Paragon weren't sure how to punish them or weren't sure how to push their lead, or if it was the comp they had or what it was, they were never that far behind in gold, because whenever Paragon looked to do something, Loopy was just, you know, he was fine. He was farming away. So was Lunka. So was JB a lot of the time. They picked off Ketsuo a few times, and they really allowed themselves to just stem the bleeding, allow themselves time, allow themselves space, and as soon as that happened, everything turned.
Indeed, I feel like I was doubting it for the damage. You know, the late game came, the damage was there, the Mundo, the Cho'Gath were just doing a lot, and it was also just so ridiculous to try and get through them. I think that it's kind of what we talked about earlier, right, where Paragon had to win early, they had to win cleanly, they had to take the game out. It just didn't happen. It wasn't to be their day today, and unfortunately Paragon are going to be saying goodbye for this season. We will see them in summer, you know, if they do return, but it's not going to be any more for them. That is our next team moving forward, right? It is going to be Bandits taking on Broad, which I want to actually like start talking about this a little bit, right? Luna, we said that this is the best Bandits we've seen. Are they now ready to take on some of the teams that took them out, though, in the regular season?
Depends. I think if they can do this without bleeding so much in the early game, yes, 100%. But I do think a lot of what this came down to was Paragon were not a good enough team to punish the mistakes that were being made and to push that lead further. A team like Broad and Friends or Venom Crest or Inkwick absolutely will, or even Rise definitely will just punish that. So I think Broad and Friends is going to be the real test for Bandits, especially given what we saw on, I think it was either the last day or the second, third last day of the split between these two teams last time they faced off. We really need to see Bandits pull something out, because the last time they met, it didn't look close. It didn't look clean. And frankly, if we get 2 more games of that, I would be willing to say, all right, Bandits, we'll see you next split.
Okay, Dubby, well, what is your take on it? Obviously, a bit of a different look on Bandits. It was a nice improvement. Obviously, they haven't got that long before they're going to have to play their next game. Is their time? Can they do it? Is it all going to happen in a best of 3 where realistically anything goes?
So, if we think about last split, the Bandits did get thrown into the lower bracket pretty early on, and they did have to fight their way up. So maybe that's how they excel. They want their backs against the wall, all the pressure on them, no safety net, and that's when they bring out their best League of Legends. We saw that tonight. They played very good both games. So maybe that's what they need. They need a little bit of pressure, that little bit of edge to say, hey, if we lose, we're out. And that's what we saw last time. They beat Broad and Friends, they beat Belfast Storm. They worked their way up, and if they can beat the new Broad and Friends, they lost to them on the regular split. We'll have to see if the best of 3 favors them more, but that'll come next week.
They are running the gauntlet now, though. Step 1 is done. They will have to win 3 more series in a row to get to the finals, which is on the 21st of June. Make sure you get your tickets. We will be live in, I believe it's Stafford University. Correct, right? I always get them mixed up between the one that's in London as well. Staffordshire University. Let's go with that one. But make sure you just check on Twitter on the UKEL. You can go and find the tickets there. Go get your tickets. Meet the people in person, and some of you people that are really liking one player, maybe they'll turn up as well. So, you never know who you can meet at one of these events. It's going to be great League of Legends, great times, and good vibes all around. So make sure you get your ticket and make sure you're there on the 21st of June. But, like we said, still a long way to go. It's a good step coming in from the Bandits. Can they make it all the way? That is the question. The only way you'll find out the answer is if you stay tuned. We'll be back on Thursday, so make sure you lock in for the UKL. We'll see you soon.